Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America, and today we are joined by Rob Owens, creator of the Harlem Derby Festival, celebrating African-American jockeys and their rich history in the Kentucky Derby. Thank you so much for being with us today.
And thank you for having me.
You know, you reignited an interest that I had in this story of black jockeys who sort of vanished from the whole idea of the Kentucky Derby. But tell us first about the festival, and then we'll talk a little bit about the black jockeys to whom we owe this whole big festival.
Absolutely. Well, the past 7 years, 6 years, I was throwing a gala. It was a one-day gala. This year, we turned it into an actual festival. And the festival was about a mint julep showcase with all the participating restaurants in Harlem vying for the bartender that could make the best mint julep. There is a best dress contest, best dressed male, best dressed female, best hat male, best hat female.
And I guess did you win the
hat? I did not. I'm not in the contest. I have judges there to take care of that.
So everybody was dressed up to watch the, several days of events, but to watch the actual Derby.
That is correct. That is correct. Derby attire required.
Well, that's great. And who did win the mint julep contest?
Mint julep contest was actually ended up being a tie between the Cecil,
right,
Red Rooster, and B2 Harlem.
Wow. So a three-way tie.
It was a three-way tie.
That's great. Well, next year I will definitely be there. I was out of town for this series, but it sounds like a tremendous, tremendous event. So you are from Kentucky.
I'm a Kentuckian from Mount Sterling, Kentucky, which is about 40 miles east of Lexington.
Right, and is that, as a young person, were you influenced by the Derby,
I certainly was. Derby, around the tracks, I went to Keeneland more. Keeneland is in Lexington, Lexington being the horse capital of the world. So we were kind of always around the tracks. I have 9 brothers and 4 sisters, so my brothers would take me to the tracks a lot.
A little entertainment, right? A
little entertainment. They love to gamble on the horses. I wasn't interested in the gambling. It was more about the pomp and circumstance of the horse racing and just being there.
Well, I mean, so the Kentucky Derby, I know some controversy. Country House won it or didn't, but won it. And you know, but 150,000 people, is that the number of people who attend the Kentucky Derby?
Oh, absolutely. That and possibly more, but at least. Absolutely.
So it is a huge event. Well, now, when I was reading about you, I started reading about these jockeys, and you celebrate them in the Harlem Derby Festival that you do.
Absolutely. Well, that's the reason for the party. I mean, it's really, I use the pomp and circumstance of the Kentucky Derby to tell our story, and it's a rich history. It's a legacy that needs to be shared.
Well, 1875, the first winner of the Kentucky Derby was a black. Was he a slave boy or
Oliver Lewis?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So he was a black slave boy, won the first Kentucky Derby, and then I think black jockeys won 15 of the next 28.
That is correct. I think in that first Derby there were probably 13 African-American riders in that first race.
Yeah, and I was reading that some of them were as young as 11, 12, 13 years old, but were gifted, you know, with riders.
Absolutely. The youngest rider was to ever win the Kentucky Derby is Alonzo Clayton, and he won it at the age of 15. So yeah, these were truly America's first superstar athletes. Thoroughbred racing being America's first sport, being Kentucky Derby being the oldest continuous American sport. These athletes, these jockeys were, again, America's first superstar athletes. They were not only able to buy the freedom for themselves, but for their families, because again, the first Kentucky Derby was just 10 years
Sure,
after
after.
Emancipation
Right,
Proclamation.
right.
So
But all of that stopped, you know, so they had that first blush of participation and success, and then Jim Crow came along, and then they were not allowed
eradicated us from
to
the sport.
participate at all. There were a couple of riders who won some derbies after that, but
Not Kentucky Derby. During Jim Crow, the last African American to win the Kentucky Derby was Jimmy Winkfield in 1901 and '02. Since then, there's Jim Crow set in.
Jim Crow set in. Well, I was looking at pictures of the cemetery, which is in disarray near the Kentucky,
where a lot of the jockeys are buried.
Right,
yes.
right. So as you're educating Harlemites about the jockeys and their participation, what can we do about that cemetery to make sure that they are honored?
Well, I think just beginning to raise this awareness, and Isaac Burns Murphy, his grave has been moved to the Kentucky Derby Museum, and I just think it's upon all of us to
make sure
that this is because it's a national treasure, really.
Right.
I mean,
well,
this is.
There's a huge statue of Outer Steve, the first horse, you know, but nothing.
Of course,
nothing about the jockey, the black jockey who rode him.
Absolutely.
Incredible. So now in Harlem, I know that you mentioned the Red Rooster, so you worked with Marcus Samuelson during this whole thing. Talk a little bit about that. Did the Red Rooster, it shared the award as well?
Well, it's been a Red Rooster has been a partner,
Right.
especially for the last 3 to 4 years. Just their commitment to the culture and just maintaining the culture and essence of what Harlem is.
Right, right.
So they've been definitely a partner.
Yeah, Marcus and his wife are both, you know, extremely civically engaged.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
civilly too. They're very very polite people.
I agree.
Oh, I understand that when you're not doing the Harlem Derby, you're doing hats, derby hats.
I design hats, pocket squares, and it really came out of the Derby. Just throwing the gala, I wanted to keep it relevant rather than just one day a year and all of that. So it awakened the designer in me. And for instance, the hat that I have on is, I named my first line after the jockeys. So this is the winter version of the Jimmy Winkfield hat. So I call it the Wink.
The Wink.
And the reason Jimmy Winkfield, again, last African American to win the Derby in consecutive years, 1901, 02. But Jimmy Winkfield has a very interesting story. Once Jim Crow set in, Jimmy Winkfield went to Chicago for a while, and then he went on to Russia. He became the Tsar of Russia's trainer and jockey, won 4 Russian derbies.
Wow.
Went on to France, won the big race in France a couple of times. So he had international fame. To this day, Europe credits African Americans with introducing a riding style that they had never seen before, a very low riding style. So this history is not just national, it's international.
Sure, and you were talking about the festival, the Durbar in Africa, that preceded the Derby in Kentucky. Tell us a little bit about that.
That is correct. So these enslaved Africans, they were already very skilled horsemen when they arrived on these shores. They brought with them this skill set, this history of the Durbar, which is a festival with camels and horses. And so this has been going on for years.
I'm just imagining that in my mind. That must have been something to watch. Can you imagine all of that? And then they brought those skills to America.
Absolutely, and passed them down generation after generations. I mean, we're talking 1600s, and
right.
So
what do you want people to walk away from as they experience the Derby and then have a year to think about the next Derby festival in Harlem?
Well, I think it's important to to know the origin of things. And so I think it's important for us to know why the Kentucky Derby is the event that it is.
Right.
And that we as African Americans dominated that sport. We ruled it. So it's very important that we know that history, and just that
and you're working with
our
kids.
handprint is on that.
Our definite handprint is on that sport. And you work with kids in Harlem? Or?
We're starting a program through the New York City Public Library in conjunction with the Kentucky Derby Museum and even Churchill Downs, of educating the kids on this history. So this was kind of the first year of the collaboration, and so we're looking forward to that growing.
That's tremendous. I did go on the Kentucky Derby website and see that they have a section about African American. So for those too, if you want to read about that more, you can go to the. I was glad that they recognized.
Yes, yes,
and it's there.
And there's a fascinating documentary that's in the works.
Yeah.
Brown Orman Productions. You may know Roscoe Orman. Roscoe is involved in this.
Roscoe, we have to get you on the show.
Yes,
right?
in this production, in this documentary. So they have a clip that's available to see now, but they're doing some great work, and I've been kind of collaborating with them over the years just to help raise funds or facilitate the whole thing.
That's wonderful. We'll look forward to that. Maybe you and Roscoe can come back and talk about it
absolutely
together. But we always ask our guests towards the end of the segment about the power, the strength of Black America, how you would finish that statement.
Power and strength of Black America, I think, is our ability, or more so our willingness, to reach back and uncover our truths. That's where the power is. We need to tell our stories. What African Americans, we on a daily basis, we kind of continue to learn more and more about our history and just not just the founding of this country, but our handprint is on basically every established American institution. So we need to just reach back and uncover our truths.
Well, thank you so much for uncovering and reminding us about this, historic handprint on something that seemed to have gone way out of our participation, because it's such a, rich, celebrity thing. But we were there in the beginning, and thank you for celebrating it in Harlem.
Absolutely, and thank you for having me. Absolutely,
Rob Owens. We'll have you back again.
Thank you.
Next up, we're going to be joined by Nicole Lyons, founder of the Bridal Suite New York. Thank you, Rob.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
And joining us now, Nicole Lyons, world-famous makeup artist and stylist to some of our best-known celebrities. She is the hot bridal artist. The Bridal Suite New York is her company, very big with upcoming weddings. You have to book her early, though. And she also has her own line of makeup. And thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Right. I tell you, you have to be kind to me, because I don't know anything about this celebrity sphere that you're operating in. But we were talking before the show started, and you said that if a bride wants you to...
Yes, pretty much now they have to book me about a year in advance.
A year in advance.
Yeah.
So they have to know in it. Well, I guess some weddings are planned that far in advance, but that's... And then they have to set aside how much time? How do you do that exactly?
Well, they pretty much, a lot of brides find me through different websites, wedding websites, and word of mouth. I've been in the business 16 years, so it's word of mouth.
Right.
And they reach out to me, email me, and we'll negotiate different things. I've grown the business from just offering makeup to now hair and makeup. and then I've received my New York State license as an esthetician. So now it's hair, skincare, and makeup.
A one-stop shop. I was on your website going through and saying, oh, this is great, this is great. Now, talking about the celebrities, you worked with Venus Williams.
Yes, yes. In 2007, I actually toured with Venus Williams when she launched her clothing line with Stephen Barry's. It was actually a phenomenal experience to be able to travel the world and do what you love. We ended in the Bahamas filming Regis and Kelly, which was amazing. But it was a phenomenal experience. And then from there, I just was receiving phone calls for a lot of different other things in regards to celebrities and TV work. So.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, LL Cool J, his family is.
Yes, LL Cool J's family has been clients of mine for over 10 years now.
Wow.
And yeah, and I had the pleasure of doing his
love
eldest
him.
daughter. Oh yeah, they're such a lovely family.
Right.
And the pleasure of doing his eldest daughter's wedding recently, maybe about a year or two ago.
Right.
And that was special because I remember doing her prom and her cotillion. So yeah, it's.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Through the-
Longevity. So that says a lot. Thank you.
Well, I was telling you before we started that my daughter and I are sort of the not knowing, and I was in the news business for many years and got made up every single day. And when people ask me, well, what do you miss about, about being on air in the news? And I said, it's the makeup. And I
Oh,
said,
yes.
My big mistake was in not marrying a makeup artist who could cook. That would be the
That would
perfect.
be the ideal situation. Oh, yes.
But
yes.
my granddaughters, who are now 6 and 10,
Yes. Yes. Makeup's come a long way.
Sephora is their heaven.
Oh,
it
yeah.
used to be, I don't know, the rise or whatever, but now it's this fascination.
Yeah, it's come a long way, and now we're in this place now where people aren't really using it to cover, and it's more enhancement now, and that's I think why I am so big in the bridal world, because my makeup's not heavy. I have you walking down the aisle as the best version of yourself. And to me, that's most important. So I have definitely seen the shift in makeup where it's not that heavy, thick, cakey makeup, but it's just a soft enhancement of who you really are. And that's why young girls are now gravitating towards it, where it's not, that heavy rouge or that,
Right.
Really matte lipstick that their mothers used to wear that had that rose smell. Makeup now is so much fun. And again, it's not really hiding who you are. That's not what it's about. And for me, that's not what it's about. It's really just enhancing and having the best version of yourself emerge.
Well, I love that. I'll have to use that with my granddaughters. I won't tell them, be careful. That's like, no, they.
Yeah, no, we all start with that very dark, heavy
Right.
eyeliner, and then
Right.
we gradually get to the softer, look. But as a young woman, we
Right.
always start somewhere.
Right.
And we always start heavy. But.
So speaking of not using makeup, Alicia Keys went through a period. What was that like for makeup artists? Or were you worried? Were you like, wait a minute, Alicia, don't go that far?
I mean, don't we all wish we can look like Alicia Keys with
Yes,
no
we
makeup?
do. We do indeed.
So I actually was not worried. Again, I have my license in aesthetic work. So, being a skincare practitioner, I always feel like let's deal with the foundation first. Let's deal with your skin first, And it's important for young women or even older women to really take care of their skin first. So her not putting on any makeup, I didn't feel threatened by it as a makeup artist. I actually think it's fantastic for her to stand in who she is proudly. As long as you take care of your skin and you can pull it off and feel comfortable, that's fine. But there's many women
so many
who,
of us.
don't feel as comfortable.
yeah.
So, it was never a threat to me as a makeup artist.
So you say you've been doing this for 16 years, so that
Yes.
means you started pretty early.
Yes,
pretty
I
early.
did. I started in college, actually. I actually went to college. I originally wanted to be a fashion stylist, a fashion designer. So I went to college for the fashion industry, and I got a job with MAC, actually, while in college, and stuck with it. I truly feel like makeup artistry is part talent and part skill. And I learned early on that I had a natural talent for makeup artistry, and it could have been crossing over from being a designer and being an artist on paper to crossing over to being an artist on face. So,
but you had the influence, the inspiration from your dad, who
yes,
was in the music industry.
yes, my dad is also an artist, and he played the bass guitar. He traveled the world multiple times over as a very successful musician with, you know, a ton of famous artists, and I remember when he was on tour, and you know, I would see the different wardrobe stylists or makeup artists on tour with them, and I'm like, I want to be just like that. I want to tour, and I want to, you know, pick out the clothes, and you know, and that really was my first introduction to the fashion industry.
Right,
Yeah,
right. And
yeah.
so here you are. Not only are you doing it at being called, I mean, and through the wedding, that whole huge industry, but you have your own line of makeup.
Yes,
and
yes.
talk to us a little bit about how
Yes.
that came about.
In 2009, I did develop my own cosmetics line, and I will actually say it really stemmed from the recession, believe it or not.
Oh.
Women love makeup, and within the recession, I noticed that there was a huge decline in even celebrities wanting to pay for 2 plane tickets as opposed to just one. So one makeup artist that does both hair and makeup, 2 hotel, 2 plane tickets. A lot of people didn't want to book 2 separate people.
The recession, I had never thought about that. The recession hit the makeup industry.
Yes. Unfortunately, it did. Right. So I did lose a lot of business, even with television. You know, they wanted someone who did both hair and makeup. And being the person that I am, how can I, you know, get ahead of this pretty much? And it just made total sense, especially being from, you know, New York and Long Island. A woman is more inclined to buy a $14 lipstick and feel great as opposed to $700 pair of shoes. You understand? So during the recession, they weren't really buying the luxury items, but they still wanted to buy to feel good. Right. Makeup is a very inexpensive purchase that a woman can make and still feel beautiful and still feel great.
Right. Never mind what's going on. What's going on in your bank account?
I know. Well, hey, your $700 pair of shoes or $14 lipstick. Hey, and you're gonna feel still good. So actually, it was.
So that worked.
It worked for you.
It worked.
And then, you know, the makeup industry just kind of blew up really huge after the recession. And
what was that? Just more access to money again, or being beyond that fear that the world was falling apart?
Yeah, I both. And I also think in the African American community, around that time, a lot of artists, female artists, were endorsing cosmetics, and it was no longer a thing of shame. It was almost like you wanted to buy that MAC product. You wanted to buy that, you know, whatever product was the hot thing in a music video or the hot thing that an artist was now endorsing. So that really took it to a whole nother level where, you know, even from there, you also saw a lot of African American women now pushing lipsticks, you know, pushing different other cosmetics. So it really kind of just blew up after.
And what are the next steps for you as I went through the website and I saw you increasing, expanding, you know, the things that you do? What's the future like?
I would like to continue to grow my team. I have a fantastic team of hairstylists and makeup artists now that work under me, and I would like to continue to grow my team, and hopefully we can service other areas and branch out. And for me personally, just being an artist, I still want to create. So I've been really into like event design and set design, and I'm still just exercising the talents that, you know, God gave me, and still enjoying every moment of being an artist. So.
Right. Well, so who would you, a quick question, and then I want to ask you our final question. You'll have to come back. Who's got the best face that you've seen recently?
Oh, wow.
You have
That's
tough. Is there somebody who's got a great face?
Oh, I would say Angela Bassett.
You know
Every time
what?
I see her lately, I mean, she just is, you know, reversing in age.
I know,
It's so
it's
stunning.
true. In fact, sometimes I don't even recognize her.
Yes,
right.
yes,
So that's
yeah,
a great
yeah,
choice
she's-
there.
And again, a lot of that has to do with great skin.
Great skin. I thought you were going to say in great makeup, but great skin. So as we come to the close of an interview, we always ask our guests to finish the statement: the power, the strength of Black America. What do you think that is?
The power and the strength of Black America is us continuing to create, us continuing to just create more opportunities for ourselves and pull each other up as we do so.
As we do so.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad for you and your teams, and congratulations on your great
Thank you so
success.
much. Such an honor to be here with you.
Right. And when we have a next wedding in the family, we'll be
Yes.
calling you. I think we better start with that 10-year-old to book you way in advance. Thank you so much, Nicole
Thank you for
Lyons,
having me.
and Rob Owens, who was with us earlier, for being with us today. And thanks to you for joining us. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America. We'll see you the next time.